Was the market reaction correct? Is this positive for coal, negative for solar, negative for oil and natural gas?
Well, I think what's really interesting about President Trump, as if he does pull out of the Paris Agreement as expected, is we think certainly that policy is having less of an influence on the way fossil fuel demand, renewables demand will develop over the next 20 years or so. Now, 20 years ago, we had the Kyoto Protocol. That was definitely designed to change behavior. Now we've got cheap renewables, we've got cheap natural gas in the US, we've got waning oil demand growth, and those things I think will have much more of an impact on the way fossil fuels are consumed, the way renewables are consumed, and what happens in the policy space.
And at the end of the day, Paul, it's a market. I mean, take a look at the Bloomberg terminal here, and you can take a look at coal versus natural gas. This, at the end of the day, tells the story. Natural gas is cheaper than coal. I mean, once you have the switching, why are you going to wind up wanting coal when you can get natural gas for cheaper? It's not going to materially change the kind of coal plants you retire, Paul.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, really the story in the US over the last few years for coal has been in competition with natural gas. Now, looking ahead, we've got slowing power demand growth, we've got the rise of renewables, and and also continued abundant availability of gas, and those things will continue to squeeze the space for coal to compete, regardless of what happens in the international policy arena.
Drew Matus, this would be quite an intriguing decision, given that there's only two other countries that aren't part of this accord. One's Syria, for obvious reasons. The other's Nicaragua. And for Nicaragua, it was because they were voluntary pledges. They wanted something a little bit stricter. I just wonder what the ultimate impact will be here in the United States, given that companies, many of their investor bases right now, including the big energy firms too, are pushing them in this direction towards the kind of climate accord that was agreed upon. So does it radically change anything here in the United States if the companies, as far as they're concerned, carry on in the direction they're traveling?
Well, if every company keeps doing what they're doing, then you could argue that it probably doesn't make much of a difference, right? If everyone wants something to happen, it doesn't really matter if people are saying it should be policy or not. And as you noted, they're voluntary agreements, right? So the question is how well was everyone following it before this, and how well will everyone be following it after this? And whether we're in or we're out, what really matters is whether the companies inside the United States choose to kind of move along and continue along the path that they've been on.